Hello and welcome to our video today where we're going to be talking about how Google Pluses actually impact your rankings or impact your indexing of content that you're publishing. I'm Chad Hill and I have Adam Setzer with me today.
Yeah, good morning, Chad. This has been a hot debate, I feel like, for years, and a fun internal argument here at HubShot, which is what is really the impact of social media on rankings. Social media has come on the stage over the last 5 years, and everybody's there. Here's a few stats. Of Fortune 500 companies, 77% have Twitter accounts, 70% are on Facebook. So with that kind of presence and audience, and then on the consumer side, it's huge. Now, everybody's been really eager to know what the integration points are between social media and making an investment in being active there, and what kind of impact that has on your rankings. There have been studies that have shown or tried to show that having active social media profiles actually impacts directly, algorithmically, how Google and Yahoo and Bing will show you. But there's a new study out here in mid-September of 2013 that's causing quite a stir. This comes from Stone Temple Consulting, and they were talking about this and presented this at SMX, and apparently Matt Cutts was actually engaged in some sort of consulting capacity to help them shape the study, because what they were really trying to sort out were some of the false correlation conclusions people have made and really try to establish causation. Bombshell, Chad, and you'll know I'll say this quite smugly with some satisfaction. Apparently, Google Pluses do not drive any material change in rankings that they could detect. Again, a fairly scientific study. They did find that Google Pluses help get your stuff discovered, help get it indexed, but they do not have any impact on rankings. So that's a bit of a bombshell, I know, for the social media community who's been pushing this agenda for a long time. Does this mean that social shares really are not important?
No, I don't think that sort of means at all, and in fact they're really important for two reasons. One is that they, as you said, they're not directly related to rankings, but they have an indirect impact, because as you share compelling, interesting information that you're creating, you are building the audience for that content and then increasing the likelihood that someone will find it useful and actually link to it and say, hey, check this really interesting post out, or this really interesting infographic out over here on my site. So and then as we know, that in turn, as you build links to your website, builds domain authority, and that does increase the chances of your website ranking. So it is still important.
Right, and that's exactly right. So there's sort of the geeky side of this argument, and then there's the practical side. From a geek standpoint, and I'm a scientist, I feel very fulfilled that someone has shown, no, the linkage is not there algorithmically. But I've had this argument with many resellers in our community before. There's 343 million active users in Google Plus and nearly 700 million in Facebook. And as you said, if you can have an active following there, even though there's no algorithmic impact of being very active directly, that's the geek argument, there is this audience play that if you can then have influence, get to real audience, get exposure and share stuff, those people, some of them will pick it up and will share it and will link it, and then we'll have an impact on your rankings indirectly. I think that's probably in 2013 more important than ever, given the changes we've seen from Google and the move towards content marketing. Yeah. So while this is a bit of a bombshell, it may just be a non-plus finding, because you still need to do it, right?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think one of the things that actually came out of this as well is that Google is continuing to try to build. You mentioned some of the numbers about Google Plus. It's clearly in third place behind Facebook and Twitter, and probably even behind some of the other social networks out there. But one of the things that Google's continuing to try to do is to use their position in the search marketplace to expand the usage of Google Plus. So an example that we found when we were doing some research here was that one of the more recent changes they've made is if you do Google a hashtag, and we know how people are about Googling, they Google everything. So even though hashtags are related to maybe Twitter, if you Google a hashtag in Google, what it's doing is actually surfacing content in Google Plus that's related to that hashtag. Now it's also going to be showing other content, but again, this one of the things you're seeing here is that this ability to grow your audience, and for Google, it's important for them to try to link their products. They're showing again that they're linking Google Plus in with other parts of their services.
So again, the headline here implies that social media is not helpful for SEO, but really the final conclusion is it's more important than ever for indirect reasons. Google is sending out unnatural link warnings at a very rapid pace. They busted another blog network earlier this week. So the move to real SEO is really underway, and social media is one of your fastest paths to do that. We'd like to hear your feedback. Please subscribe to our videos and share some of your success stories using social media to get rankings.